Too fast, too furious, too fast, too furious. I'm too fast, I'm too furious. I'm too fast, I'm too furious. Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Yeah, where's the beef? Where's the beef? Welcome to Where's the Beef? Talking about beefs tonight. Talking about beefs a lot lately. It just seems to be on the mind. Beef is on the mind. What can I say? Beef is my favorite character in Phantom of the Paradise. You know, I've seen Phantom of the Paradise about 150 billion times. I've only seen the first Fast and Furious film one time 20 years ago, 2001, I think, 2002 maybe. It's the only film I saw. I don't know why I watched it. I saw it once. I was like, not my thing. I know it is a beloved franchise. Hi, Droid. How you doing? Tell me, how do I look right now? Am I coming in all pixelated to you? How is my sound? How's my audio? Let me know what's up. And we got Ballad of the Broken in the chat. Ballad, what's going on? I was going to do a breakdown of the Scream trailer, as I told Ballad earlier today. And you want to know something? I decided I don't want to see it. I want to go in blind. So I'm not going to talk about it. We're talking about Fast and the Furious today. I literally know nothing about this series. The only thing I know, all right, here's what I know. Here's what I know. Okay, thanks for the confirmation. Good. So here's what I know about Fast and the Furious, right? The first thing that I know that there's a lot of movies. There's like five, no, there's like 9 movies, and then there's a spin-off movie called Hobbs and Shaw. That I know. The other thing I know is that it seems that Fast and the Furious started off as like one thing and slowly transformed into something else. It turned into like this, secret agent series. They went from being car racers to, you know, cops and robbers and whatnot, and now they are. What's going on, Chris? How you doing? Now they are like, international like spies. And I think what the series needs to evolve into, I want to see them go to outer space. I want them to become the next Star Trek, the Fast and Furious family in space. It could be like Lost in Space, but with the Fast and Furious family, right? Sorry, I think it's funny because we're family. I don't even get the joke. It's just I guess he's really obsessed, really obsessed. Um, Ballad. I'm posting this stuff, but I'm not getting into it because I don't want to get off topic. But all of those things sound promising. Again, I'm going in completely blind. I don't want to know. I just want to be completely surprised. All right. So what I have here is a new profile that seems to be the latest on what probably is the final word. Because that's the problem when you do these beefs. Like they keep evolving, right? You got to keep up with the beef. I don't want to keep up with the beef. I want to talk about the beef once, twice, 3 times a lady, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully this is the, maybe penultimate final word on the beef. Who knows? Maybe Vin Diesel will clap back, as they say. Let me get this straight. So, and then, the chronology is like all off too. Like, I think like one of them, like the third or the fourth one is actually a prequel to the second or the third one. It's like just really confusing. And then Paul Walker dies. Very sad, very tragic. And they say goodbye to him. When they say goodbye to him, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson comes into the series after like the 5th movie. This is unheard of. Normally like a franchise is a franchise and essentially established. You don't keep adding new people, but the Fast and Furious series seems to get better and better and better with each sequel, meaning like, they bring in more people, they do more crazy stunts. It's like neck and neck with Mission Impossible is another one that's just like that. We're going to keep upping the ante and doing more and more and more, yada yada, XYZ 1 2 3. So here's what Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he breaks down the beef for us so we can, because ultimately what is beef? Beef is delicious. It's delicious. We like to masticate it. Beef. All right, let's take a look at this without further ado. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just reading the part about Fast and the Furious. That's literally what I came here to do, to talk about that. Ballad says, I'm not well versed in the Fast and Furious movies, but I think Dwayne that he likes Dwayne better than Vin, since both of them have dropped music. They should just do a good old fashioned rap beef on wax. Exactly. It doesn't matter what his beef is. Uh, why? Loki. Why is that? We got Loki in the house. Loki, did you hear about the Michael Graves and the Whiskey a Go Go? That just popped into my radar. Very interesting, considering that dude used to sell face masks, which I think is kind of funny. What's beef? Beef is when I see you guaranteed to be in the ICU. Notorious B.I.G. Wow. Wow. Loki says, please. We have the Michael Graves face masks. Fucking Michael Graves, man. All right. He's had enough. He's had enough. All right, Loki, I'm sorry. I'm done. Hey, Loki, I'm breaking balls, Loki. I'm breaking balls. I'm breaking balls. We're talking about Fast and the Furious now. No more. No more. No more. Okay. So what does Dwayne The Rock Johnson have to say? He says, so he and his ex-wife built a new team. One pivotal part of the ascent that followed, ascent meaning, scaling upward. Uh-oh. Now I'm gonna have beef with Loki. Loki, I don't wanna have a beef with you. Let's just eat beef together. We'll order what's your favorite burger? In-N-Out? The Fast and the Lokius. Exactly, dude. All right, ready? One pivotal part of the ascent that followed was the huge success of his appearance in the Fast and Furious film franchise, Fast Five. Say that 100 times fast. Ready? And Fast and Furious film franchise, Fast Five. Whoa, that's crazy. The Fast and the Furious film franchise, Fast Five. Fast and the Furious film franchise, Fast Five. Fast and the Furious franchise, Fast Five. That's a tongue twister right there. Fast Five, in which his character Luke Hobbs was introduced, so it was the fifth one, would nearly double the previous installment's gross. The gross meaning the gross box office. So they saw a ginormous uptick, because usually what happens is sequels are diminishing returns, right? You do another sequel, the Hollywood formula of sucking the blood dry from a piece of art, if you could call this art. I'd say this is more commerce than art, but that's my personal opinion, is we want to make twice the amount of money for half of the amount of budget. That's what okay, do another sequel, but we're going to give you less money, even though this sequel made more money than the original. We're still going to give you less money because we're that fucking greedy, and we don't care about making something that looks really, really good. And it's like frustrating. That stuff is frustrating. But in the guise of Fast and Furious, what's going on, Amy? Welcome to the chat. In the guise of the Fast and the Furious, it seems that the sequels and the budgets get bigger and bigger and bigger because they're making more and more money. This is a good thing, I guess. Especially if you're Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel is a producer on the Fast and Furious series. So he owns a piece. He's got a lot of skin in the game. I mean, obviously they all have some skin in the game, but Vin Diesel really has some skin in the game. He hasn't really been in too much stuff. He's been in things here. He's done a little Reddick here, and he did the Blood movie, whatever that was there. But like Fast and Furious is his baby. That's his cash cow, making billions of dollars and whatnot. He does well. He does really, really well with that. So when Johnson comes in, he says, it really lit a rocket under my market value in our business. He returned for the next 3 films, as well as a spin-off called Hobbs and Shaw. That's him and Jason Statham. So they did their own film. But behind the scenes, there had been a growing schism between Johnson and Vin Diesel. Even though they're family, there was a growing schism. It was serious enough that Johnson only agreed to return for the series' 8th installment, The Fate of the Furious. They have done so many titles. We got to look up what are all the titles to the Fast and Furious films? I'm going to look them up right now, just because I'm very, very curious. Fast and the Furious. Let's see here. The series. Let's look at the entire, like every sequel name. Here we go, real quick, just because I don't know. I honestly don't know. List of films. Where is it? Here we go. Films. So here's the films. Ready? You have the first one, The Fast and the Furious, right? The second one, Too Fast, Too Furious, spelt with a two. The third one is The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. The fourth one is just Fast and Furious. The fifth one is Fast Five, baby. Who is the marketing genius coming up with these titles? The sixth one is called Fast and Furious Six. Not very original there. The seventh one is called Furious Seven. I guess this is more original than the Friday the 13th films, though. The eighth film is called The Fate of the Furious. The ninth one is called F9. And then they're doing a 10th film that's split into two pieces, and they don't have a title for it yet. And they're doing another spin-off, a sequel to Hobbs and Shaw, and then an untitled women-led film. And there you go. So that those are all of the movies, right? So The Rock, he didn't want to come back for the eighth one, The Fate of the Furious. Only he would come back on the condition that he and Diesel shared no scenes together. I want to forego drama, he tells me. That's talking to the interviewer here for Vanity Fair. I thought that this was the best thing to do for everybody. By the way, the guy who wrote this and did this piece for Vanity Fair, his name is her name is ... Hold on. Oh, man. Load, you son of a bee. It's by Chris Heath, and the photography is by Mark Seliger. Seliger, I guess is that name. Now we've lost our place because I had to credit the author, which is what you should do. That's what you should do in those scenarios. Hold on. So he wasn't going to come back. He didn't want to share the screen with, and something else came out too, that they have to have, it's in their contracts, both of them. They have to have a certain amount of screen time. They have a certain amount of lines, a certain amount of time where they're kicking butt on screen, like they have to, that kind of thing. So he thought it was the best thing to do for everybody to forego any scenes with Diesel. He didn't want them. It clearly wasn't enough. Their issues sprung into the open with a now notorious Instagram post that Johnson wrote a week before the end of production. He subsequently deleted it, but not before it had traveled far and wide. It read in part, "My female co-stars are always amazing and I love them. My male co-stars, however, are a different story." Ooh, talk about shade. That is some right in the you knew he was talking about somebody. "My male co-stars, however, are a different story. Some conduct themselves as stand-up men and true professionals, while others don't. The ones that don't are too chicken-ish," you can guess what ish is, "to do anything about it. They are candy asses. When you watch this movie next April and it seems like I'm not acting in some of those scenes and my blood is legit boiling, you're right." Ooh. He closed things out with a hashtag, "zero tolerance for candy asses." So candy asses, previously mentioned, was one of The Rock's trademark wrestling putdowns. I did not know that. Okay. So there's some precedent with that term, with that terminology. For clarity, at my request, Johnson supplies the following definition: it is something you don't want to be. And the best way that I could describe it is, life is so much easier, I have found, when you are not full of ish. And they are always full of ish. So it's about them being full of it. I asked Johnson whether something specific had happened on set to provoke his post. He said, "Nothing specific happened, just the same old ish," he says. "And it just wasn't my best day." I can relate to that. I totally get that, not having your best day. I have definitely been in situations where I was not having my best day and I let something slip. I believe, thank you, Loki. That is exactly what I mean. And I'm just too much of a chicken-ish to say it out loud. No, it's just that, friggin' YouTube, man. It's friggin' YouTube. Just trying not to cuss so much, or at least minimize the amount of cussing. It's harder than you think. But, I've definitely been in situations where, I wasn't not my best day. And here's the thing. This is what I have learned sometimes, and sometimes I haven't, as you'll know from my YouTube channel. Um, Restraint of pen and tongue pays great dividends. What does that mean? It means that if I keep my mouth shut, that, I'm gonna avoid trouble. You know what I mean? Like, it's best. Sometimes I don't have the privilege to talk out of the side of my neck. It just doesn't help me, especially when it's not my best day. you know I need a filter because I'm liable to say something that I'm going to end up having to apologize for later at a later time. So restraint of pen and tongue. And I think, that's something. It wasn't, The Rock was not having his best day, and he definitely had a slip of the tongue, and it basically opened a can of worms. Or as he says it, um because of what happened, I asked, or because he chose to share it. Wait, he says, um, and it just wasn't his best day because of what happened. I asked, or because he chose to share on Instagram, and he claims chose to share it. He regretted it? Question mark. Johnson laughs. It caused a firestorm. Yet, interesting enough, it was as if every single crew member found their way to me and either quietly thanked me or sent me a note. But yeah, it wasn't my best day. Sharing that, I shouldn't have shared that, because at the end of the day, it goes against my DNA. I don't share things like that. And I take care of that kind of bullish away from the public. They don't need to know that. That's why I said it was my best day. Like I said, I can totally relate to that. The Rock seems like a pretty stand-up guy to me for the most part. He seems like, he's really, really healthy. He's really, really focused. He's one of those dudes, he's like focused in the way that Tom Cruise is, except there's none of that Scientology nonsense. You know what I mean? Like, he just such an outlier of just wanting to be the best that he can be. He went from wrestling to, becoming an actor, and he's been acting for almost 20 years, right? Like, I remember first seeing The Rock. I think it was in a movie called The Rundown with Sean William Scott, back when that dude was like all the rage. That was the first big thing. Oh no, it was the Scorpion King. Right. It was the Scorpion King in 2002. So he's been acting for almost 20 years, and he really has just worked his way up the ladder to being A-list Hollywood. I mean, he gets films bankrolled, and, creates a lot of jobs for a lot of people. Let's put it that way. However, there's a double-sided sword there. And I'm going to get to that in 1 second. Loki says that I'm going to get shadow banned if I keep dissing Scientology. I wasn't dissing Scientology. All I said was that he's like Tom Cruise without the Scientology, right? I mean, it's just like saying, like, what's this without this? What is spicy chicken without the spice? It's just chicken. That's not dissing spice. That's just saying what it is without one thing. What is Dwayne The Rock Johnson? What is Dwayne? How is Dwayne? What is Dwayne The Rock Johnson? He is Tom Cruise without the Scientology. Is that what I said? Well, I'm just kidding. I think it's a wonderful religion. It's the only religion you got with UFOs, man, which is awesome. We need more religions with like aliens and UFOs, truly, in my personal opinion. Listen, whatever makes you happy out there, go and do what makes you happy, as long as it doesn't hurt other people. That's my philosophy. That's what I think. If that's what you like to do, as long as you're not hurting other people, go do it. That's what I think. Although, whatever. I'm not going to say the next thing. Rue Morg says, that's like hairpiece without hair grease. Exactly. Oh, Loki, it's so nice to have you. Loki, when are you going to come on my show again? Weren't we going to do that? What? Get at my DMs. Shoot me you know my number. Shoot me a text message. You. Let's talk. Let's get you out. Let's figure out something for Loki to do. I like talking to Loki. What's going on? What's going on, Room Work? It's good to see you, buddy. It's good to see you. Um, so getting back to this real quick. So it wasn't his best day. But the interviewer confirms, no, sorry. The Rock confirms that he would not take it back. He just wouldn't share it publicly. And The Rock confirms that. He says, no, I meant what I said for sure. He stands by his words. I mean what I say when I say it. But to express it publicly was not the right thing to do. And that's another thing that's really cool that I'll give The Rock credit for. It's not easy to admit, when you're wrong publicly. That's another hard thing to do. And, a lot more people would benefit greatly if they could admit when they're wrong publicly. So I give it another +1 to The Rock there. It was subsequently reported that some kind of peace meeting took place soon afterwards in Johnson's trailer. Well, there was a meeting, Johnson tells me, laughing. I wouldn't call it a peaceful meeting. I would call it a meeting of clarity. He and I had a good chat in my trailer. And it was out of that chat that it really became just crystal clear that we are two separate ends of the spectrum and agreed to leave it there. That also is a beautiful thing, in my opinion, right? Like, you realize I've had conversations with people like that too, where you realize we're never going to agree on anything. You think you're right. I think I'm right. And we're just going to have to agree. It's literally the cliche. We have to agree to disagree here and just move forward, whether you're moving forward together with someone and working together or just going your separate ways because you reach an impasse. And that's what happens. Sometimes you reach an impasse, and that's what clearly happened here, and just leave it there. So I wonder, that must have solved things. But, basically what The Rock is not saying, but what the tea leaves that I'm reading is that, Vin Diesel doesn't treat people very nicely on the set. And it maybe comes from the fact that he's a producer. I don't know. Let's see what else the Rock has to say about this. I mean, look at this dude. He is like in the pinnacle of greatness, conquered the movie world. He's conquered the world of physicality where he's in the best shape of his life. He seems like a generally upbeat kind of person who's just all about positivity. And, I don't know. I got a lot of respect for The Rock, to be honest with you. In my opinion, Loki says, I think they are laying the groundwork for a big Mania feud in the next couple of years. You got to explain that. What's a Mania feud? Is this a wrestling term? I don't know. I don't know what that means. You got to explain that. What is a Mania feud? I'm just not well versed I'm not well versed in wrestling. I don't know anything about it. It's a blind spot for me. I don't know. That's just me though. Oh, okay. That's a WrestleMania thing. Well, see, that's a good crossover promotion actually for the Fast and Furious series. I would imagine having the Rock come back to wrestling and then have him wrestle Vin Diesel in a cage match. No, have them racing. No, have them wrestling. They're each on their own respective muscle car going around on a track, and they're wrestling each other from each car. That would be good, I think. What's going on, Jody? Welcome. Here's Jody's take. The Rock would rock bottom Vin, and the beef would be cooked. If you could smell what The Rock is cooking, of course. Whoa! Boom. There you go. So Johnson says that he and Diesel are philosophically two different people, and we approach the business of movie making in two very different ways. The faults he sees in Diesel seem pretty clear from this description he offers of his own contrasting philosophy. So I think we're about to get those tea leaves, right? We're about to hear a supreme breakdown of the situation. It's the philosophy of going into work every day, looking at everybody as equal partners and looking at the studio as equal partners and looking at the crew, regardless of where you're at,
either on the call sheet or otherwise, as equal partners with respect and with humility, and being respectful of the process and every other human being who is putting in just as much time, just as much hard work and sweat equity, if not more. I think it's always been more important to me to always be straight up and look somebody in the eye. And if you say you're going to do something, then do it. So there you go. He just straight up took his giant rock C word out. He just took it out. He smacked Vin Diesel across the face with it. That's what he did. He took it out. Big, muscular, throbbing, veiny bull. You know, boom! Right across the face. Right across Vin Diesel's bald, chrome-domed head, right? There you go. So he's just saying this is what could be interpreted allegedly by The Rock's words. I'm not saying that this is what he said. It's you have to look at what's not on being put on the table to understand what he's saying. His plow sword, his plowed sword, his Scorpion King, the Scorpion King, Scorpion King. So what he's saying is that allegedly, this is what he's saying, that by what he's saying here, that Vin Diesel doesn't look at everybody as equal partners and doesn't look at the studio as an equal partner and doesn't look at the crew of, regardless of where you're at, either on the call sheet or otherwise, as an equal partner, doesn't, not with any respect and not with any humility, and is incredibly disrespectful of the process and to every other human being who is putting in just as much time, just as much hard work and sweat equity, if not more. And The Rock thinks that Vin Diesel, it's not important to Vin Diesel to be straight up. That Vin Diesel doesn't think it's important to be straight up and doesn't think it's important to look someone in the eye and doesn't think it's important to do what they say that they are going to do. So it's just absolutely the opposite, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, I can, Loki. That's my secret power. I can literally just talk about anything. I just, they should hire me to be a filibuster when they're trying to pass legislation in our government, because I would have them there for 72 hours straight. They wouldn't know what to do with me, Over time, Diesel has voiced his own oblique observations about the situation. Oblique means not transparent, right? So he, is not being very, he's not transparent in his observation about the situation. He has put down their differences to them being two alpha males. And Johnson says, sounds like him to say that, sure. Characterized Johnson perhaps slightly patronizingly as Hollywood's second multicultural megastar, whom he's proud to see following in his footsteps. Ouch! Boom! And Vin Diesel, in turn, after getting hit with the plow sword, whips out his own, shiny man out of the cave and tries to come back, at The Rock. Johnson says he talks like that and said that I protected Dwayne more than he'll ever know, but he appreciates that. So Vin Diesel says, I protected Dwayne more than he'll ever know, but he appreciates that. He knows he only has one big brother in the film world, and that's me. Oof. Johnson says, I have one big brother, and that's my half brother, and that's it. See, Johnson sounds like he's got a good head on his shoulders, and Vin Diesel sounds like he let the diesel of the Fast and Furious cars go to his noggin, and he is just, out of his mind. Then this summer, in an interview in Men's Health, Diesel returned to the subject, casting any conflict as the benign side effect of purposeful method manipulation on his part. What? I wish I could do a Vin Diesel impression. I can't. I can't do it. Forget it. I'm not going to even try. Family. My approach at the time was a lot of tough love to assist in getting that performance where it needed to be as a producer. So he's like, wow, he really is. Talk about condescending and patronizing. As a producer, to say, okay, we're going to take Dwayne Johnson, who's associated with wrestling, and we're going to force the cinematic world audience members to regard his character as someone that they don't know. Hobbs hits you like a ton of bricks. That's some I can't do his voice. That's something that I'm proud of. That aesthetic. That took a lot of work. So he's taking credit for Dwayne the Rock Johnson. That he's basically saying that by acting like, you know, by acting like a dick to the Rock and to everybody else, that I brought their character where it needed to go, and that everybody should thank me for what I did, and that he is proud of that aesthetic. That took a lot of work. We had to get there and sometimes at that time I could give a lot of tough love. Not Fellini-esque, but I would do anything I have in order to get the performances in anything I'm producing. Reminded of this quote, Johnson at first simply bellows with laughter. Okay, before we move on, I just want to check something. So The Rock, let's see what The Rock's first film was, right? Because he's talking about The Rock as if he's like new to the cinema world, but I'm pretty sure that they have been acting for the exact same time. They started, I think that I think that Vin Diesel started in 1999, Pitch Black, right? And let's see what The Rock's first film was. I'm checking right now. Filmography. I mean, the dude is so talented. He's done so much stuff. All right, so his first film is in 2001, The Mummy Returns, although he is in Beyond the Mat as himself in a documentary. That doesn't count. So we can say 2001 for The Rock. Let's see the first time that Vin Diesel, when is Vin Diesel's first appearance in a film? Let's take a look. Vin Diesel. Yo, I can't. Vin Oh, whoa, look at that pot belly. Yeah, he's 54 too. He probably feels, The Rock is probably roughly the same age. Definitely listen, definitely some alpha male. Oh, that's right. He did the voice of Groot. Definitely some alpha male, nonsense in there as well. He's been in 56 films. But, I don't know. Oh, right. He was in Triple X, Knockaround Guys. Pitch Black was in 2000. Boiler Room was in 2000. Oh, that's right. He was the voice for the Iron Giant in 99. He's in his first starring film is in 1997 as Rick in a film called Strays, and he's in Saving Private Ryan in 1998. So what? So he's got like 4 years. He's got 4 years on The Rock. You know, I mean, that's ridiculous. That is so wrong in my opinion. Um, yeah, Loki, that's exactly right. Not for nothing, but The Rock was well established in Hollywood as an actor already. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I remember the buzz when he was in The Scorpion King. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, The Rock, he's gonna play the Scorpion King." Like that was a big friggin' deal, dude. That was a big deal. All right, let's see what he says. Reminded of this quote. This is the quote about Diesel being responsible for everything. Johnson at first simply bellows with laughter. He goes, I'll tell you this. By the way, Johnson is so good as God, what's his name in Moana? He plays Maui. He plays Maui in Moana. So good, so good, and he's singing. Man, the Rock rules, dude. He says, I'll tell you this. He says eventually. Well, I love that Die Hard movie. He did a Die Hard knockoff with Nev Campbell where he's missing his leg. It's basically just Die Hard with a dude who's missing his leg. And he has to use his leg, his fake leg as like a prop. Like he has to zip line with his fake leg. Yeah, it's really great, really fun. He says, I'll tell you this, he said eventually. One part of me feels like there's no way I would dignify any of that BS with an answer. But here's the truth. I've been around the block a lot of times. He sure has. Unlike him, I did not come from the world of theater. And, I came up differently and was raised differently. And I came from a completely different culture and environment. And I got into every project. I go into every project giving it my all. again, I know I sound like I'm just blowing smoke up his rear end, but like I agree. I agree. He does give it all. He is Tom Cruise minus the Scientology. And if I feel that there's some things that need to be squared away and handled and taken care of, then I do it. And it's just that simple. So when I read that, just like everybody else, I laughed. I laughed hard. We all laughed. And somewhere, I'm sure, Fellini is laughing too. And that's it. Well, I'll just read this. Other collaborators think of Johnson far more fondly. Ryan Reynolds, who co-stars this month in Red Notice, has known him for 20 years. The thing that sets him apart, Reynolds says, is obviously he's kind of superhuman in stature. He's going to be Black Adam, by the way, for anybody who is into comic books. He's perfect casting for that. Um, Reynolds says he's obviously he's kind of superhuman in stature and looks and charisma and all those things, but he has an innate ability to always laugh at himself, and that in and of itself is a superpower. I mean, that opens the door, spiritually, emotionally, and literally. I think it's always been in his arsenal, and that's always been the thing that I think really allows people in. He offers a further observation. I think sort of the allure of DJ, Dwayne Johnson, is that to a certain extent he wears his heart on his sleeve, and that there is underneath the muscles, which all which are all, by the way, spray on muscles. I found out when we were shooting, he is incredibly vulnerable. And then Emily Blunt, who starred with Johnson in Jungle Cruise, echoes the sentiment. I know the first thing everyone notices is the colossal framework of a human, but when people who really know him well know is that held inside is this equally oceanic compassion and humility. She says, he's got this sort of blazing charisma that he's really known for, but he's quite shy and introverted. He's an interesting and very rare mix of really confident and really humble. Blunt adds. He also happens to be a tequila swilling, fun as hell hang, and he's got the filthiest laugh in the world. So there you go. Now I want to say one thing. I'm going to say one final. Here's my Jerry Springer final word on that. In terms of this, for those of you who don't realize, right now the film and television industry is in great upheaval. The unions are fixing to strike, and here is why. They're fixing to strike because all of the streaming channels have different sorts of contracts than, say, the big budgeted studios. There are certain things that big budgeted studios have to do. They have to pay a certain amount of money. They have to have breaks. They have to have certain turnaround times. There's all these things, and those are in place to keep the people that are working. And even for the big studios, it's not. It's that these people are overworked. The sets and crews, they're overworked. They're underpaid and underappreciated for the most part. In an industry where you have elitists that will just bite your head off for no reason. You know what I'm saying? And right now, the unions are getting ready to strike over something called new media contracts. Basically, because streaming at the time when streaming first started up, they were able to renegotiate their contracts as new media because nobody knew what streaming was or how big it was going to be or how much money it was going to make. And now they're making all the money in the world, and they are not paying as much and not having, for instance, there's this thing called a meal penalty, and a meal penalty is where if you skip lunch, you have to pay a certain amount of money to the worker, whoever who's in the union. But these rates have not been renegotiated since the 80s. So what you get is these studios that are like, yeah, sure, we'll pay your meal penalty fee, which is like nothing. It's nothing to them. It's not a penalty at all, and that's the problem. And then what happens is people go home, they're driving home after working 16, 17, 18-hour days. They're driving home, they're getting into car accidents. People have died, falling asleep at the wheel. Far more dangerous than having explosives on the set. Driving home in your car and falling asleep because you're overworked and super tired, you know? And here's what fuels this behavior. Above the line movie stars like The Rock, like Vin Diesel, all these guys, they go, yeah, I'll do that movie, but I'm only going to do it for 8 to 10 weeks. And that's it. Or I'm going to do it for 4 weeks. Or you'll only have me for 3 weeks on this side role, whatever it is. And then suddenly it's the crews who have to basically adhere to these incredibly insane schedules that take up all their time. It's the crews that have to spend 16 hours on set, and it all has to do with because the big movie star agreed to do it for this amount of weeks and nothing more. And movies take time. They're incredibly complicated and detailed, and the set life is a hard life. It's a life that I never wanted. I had a tiny little taste of it, and I turned right around and walked away from it because it's just so, I mean, you do not get to see your family. You do not get to have a social life. You get to be making movies. That's friggin' cool as a part of the cog in the machine, but you don't have a life. So the problem here is, even though Johnson, oh yeah, Johnson's super humble, a man of the people, if you will, but it's like, he's part of the problem. He's like, I'll do a movie for 10 weeks. I'll do a movie for 8 weeks, blah, blah, blah. And then the people suffer as a result. So no matter how well he's treating the people, the way that he could really treat people well is by not adhering to such tight studio schedules. And who knows how that's figured out or who's responsible for that, but that's what happens. Let's just go to some comments real quickly. I see some comments over here. Ballad says, Rue, I wonder what compelled the directors to include that random, hilarious scene so out of place, but so work. What are you guys talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. Ballad says, one thing I respect about The Rock is his openness about his mental health struggles and depression. It's one of the reasons he wakes up at the crack of dawn and lifts Atlas stones. He that is amazing. And when people like that talk about mental illness, it's a good thing because they have a platform, and that's when this idea of having a platform and using it for good is a good thing. You know what I mean? Which is the better film, The Pacifier with Vin Diesel or The Tooth Fairy with The Rock? First of all, I have seen neither one of these films, but I remember the posters. I remember when these films came out, and I find it hilarious that they both were in films like that. I wonder if they were up for the same sort of roles and chose, oh my God. If they are remaking The Lost Boys. They are remaking the Lost Boys. They should have The Rock do the cameo as the oiled up saxophone guy. I still believe. When I was on tour with Blitzkid, we got to go to Santa Cruz where they filmed that movie. It was awesome. It was awesome, man. The gameplay with The Rock. Joe Kingman, baby. I don't know. You guys are speaking in another language. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I feel so out of touch. Do I have another seltzer back here? Hold on. What else you guys got for me? Hold on one second. I'm just going to grab this seltzer. And you know what? The best part about this really terrible headset is that the cable is so long that I can actually reach back, grab my seltzer, and never get any dead air. A couple things coming up. We got a new episode tomorrow of the Streaming Evil Live. I have a mysterious guest. Expect to hear some cool stories from him. That's going to be a lot of fun. Check that out. Also coming up on Thursday, we have another episode of Sinful Celluloid with filmmaker, producer, writer Christopher Jimenez. Go follow him at Sinful Celluloid on Instagram. We're going to be talking about vampires. Woo! Also check out, I've been posting videos every single day about all the movies that I watch. And it's a lot of work and nobody really seems to click on them. They're not very popular. It is what it is. I get that not everything is going to be watched. But I committed to it and I'm not going to stop doing it. I'm going to see it through to the end, even if it's not a popular series. And but been watching some really great stuff, so check that out. Do you like this beef series? What beef should we talk about next? We just did a beef what was the last beef we did? Oh, we did the Jackass beef. So we just did a Jackass beef and we did the Sex Pistols beef. So you tell me what beef we need to do next. That's another thing we have to figure out. Rue doesn't want anybody remaking the Lost Boys. He's not happy. He is not happy. Speaking of that, I hope you get another live stream with some of the Blitz Kid guys. Love how you brought up the meaning of the torn prince. I can guarantee you that is never going to happen. But that was a fun episode. I enjoyed having Tracy on that one time. But not going to happen. The Rock did not collaborate with Danzig. That's why you don't know what what we're talking about. Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true. Okay. I see what Loki's doing here. I get it. See, I can laugh at myself too. I think that's funny. Guys, make sure to follow Jody at Jody Ellison, Jody_Ellison on Instagram. Shameless plug, Jody. All about the shameless plug. I don't know. Got it. Here is the cat of the chat. What? Thinking. I guess that's it, you guys. I don't have anything else to say. Anything at all? Oh. Wait. One last thing. All right. For those of you, first of all, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. If you have not, we have all regulars tonight. So I assume that you're all subscribed or dialed in 100%. Ooh, this is a good spicy question. Who would you say has had the most famous beef in our circles? I'd say I could think of quite a few, actually. Quite a few beefs, for sure, come to mind. Absolutely. There are definitely some big ones. Definitely, for sure. I don't know what the biggest one would be, but definitely a few salacious ones come to mind. Please make sure to subscribe. And also, guys, the listening party is out. The final entry in our listening series for Sam Hain. Sam Hain, November Coming Fire, is now available for YouTube Casualty members and Patreon. So if you're on the Patreon, if you're a YouTube Casualty member on YouTube, you can now listen to November Coming Fire. It's 44 minutes long. We do some history, and then we go into the album. Otherwise, you have to wait till November 1st. It drops. So keep that in mind. Also, we're going to be doing I'm hoping, because my system seems to be working again, we're going to be doing Night of the Living Dead with live commentary. We're going to watch Night of the Living Dead. It's going to be a watch along, and we're going to be doing a commentary, and it's going to be a lot of fun because I got a lot to say. Oh, thank you for reminding me too. November Frumess Fire. That's right. November 6th, I'm hosting a show. I am like the MC for a punk show that's happening on November 6th. It's Voice of Doom, Robbie Bloodshed, Secret Subway with Tony Matura, and who knows who else might show up at this jamboree. You gotta tune in and find out. And yes, we are streaming. Yeah, you must have missed that, Bowd. We are streaming on Thursday. We're doing the Sinful Celluloid again. We're doing vampires. It's going to be a vampire discussion. Before you go, for Halloween, which Danzig-related band are you listening to most to set the mood? The one thing that I do on Halloween, every Halloween without fail, obviously I listen to the song Halloween. I've never missed a year. I always listen to the song Halloween. It's like just a thing. You know what I mean? So there's that. Exactly. Sour cream. We have sour cream t-shirts in the comments. Check out. We got t-shirts in the comments. All right, guys. There's nothing more for me to say. I got to make the video review for my next. I'm literally about to upload another video after this one. I did this, and now I'm going to go upload a video. So it's a busy week. Okay. All right. As we always say here, peace and hair grease.